Hey guys, in the previous video you learned how to play Jax, but not when to pick him. Let's go over when not to pick him first and end with the champs you should pick him against. You don't want to play Jax against strong laning champions. Jax have a relatively poor lane, and if he gets behind, it becomes almost impossible to farm on him. Jax is heavily gold dependent and he should be equal to his opponents at all times. The first champ you shouldn't play Jax against is Shen. Since this is Jax's biggest counter, and if you get against this champ, it's going to be almost impossible to win. He generally tends to beat you in the lane phase, in mid game, and in late game. The only way to beat Sin's Jax is if you snowball really hard with early ganks, but you should be losing 2 vs 2 against the enemy team unless your jungler is a lot stronger. And you lose the 1v1, so at most times you'll just be weaker than Sin's. The next champion we have is Cassio here. If you play Jax against the Cassio here, you're just going to lose most of the time. She's stronger than you 1v1. Even if you get into melee range, she just all-ins you. She can ultimate when you use your E and just walk out of your E, so it's really hard to hit a stun on her. And overall, she's just going to have more damage than you, more range than you, and it's almost impossible for you to get to a position where you can start beating her up. Next up we have Rengar. Rengar is generally right now a lane dominator in specific matchups, and he actually beats Jax pretty hard. Also, he tends to be able to snowball super hard because you have an easy laning phase against Jax, and then you can start roaming around after 6 and snowball the map. Overall, this is not as bad as the other 2 matchups, but still I would recommend not playing against him because he's slightly stronger. And it's better to just not play against a Rengar when you're playing Jax. Last up we have Kennen. This matchup you can actually win if you manage to stay even in the lane. But if you're against a good Kennen, he's going to bully you in lane and you're going to get destroyed. And you won't be able to get to a point where you actually outscale him and get stronger than him. Because he's always going to have a lot of gold up on you. And he's going to have tower planings on you and he's going to have kills on you. And overall, unless you play a lot better than him, you're going to lose. And the worst part is, even if you play better than him, you still need your jungler to help you out to actually beat a Kennen. So try to avoid that matchup if you can. Next up, we have the second kind of champs you don't want to play against. And these are the champions that outscale you or influence the map a lot more than you do, and thus makes you lose more games. So first up we have Shen. He doesn't necessarily outscale a Jax, but the problem is he wins the laning phase really hard if it's a good Shen. And then afterwards he can teleport around the map with his ultimate, and generally he gets his team ahead far enough for Jax to lose games. So he doesn't individually outscale you, but he makes his team far ahead and his team will outscale your team in most games, and therefore you're going to lose. Next up we have Malphite. Malphite is a tough lane, but you can win it. However, after 6 you're a very easy gang, and he's going to outscale you and he's going to destroy team fights. It's one of the matchups, again, just like Shen, you really want to avoid this matchup if you can. It's absolutely awful to play against. And last of the matchups that you don't want to play against, we have Ornn. Ornn is a monster right now. He got nerfed last patch, but it didn't matter enough. He's going to beat you in the laning phase if he plays well. He's going to beat you mid game. He's going to lose to you in 1v1 late game, but he's going to destroy you in team fight, and he's going to destroy your entire team. And also he allows his team to get stronger by upgrading their items, so his team is going to be stronger than yours. It's again a matchup you want to avoid because he helps his team out, he's going to beat you up, and that's just not very fun to play against an Ornn, right? So if you're playing Jax, that's the last champion that I would suggest you try heavily to avoid, because it's just really awful to play against. Now we talked about all the negativity and all the matchups you lose against, so let's end with something happy. The matchups you actually beat. So, Jax destroys Yasuo. Yasuo is a champ we don't see top lane that much anymore. However, when Yasuo wanders from mid lane up to top lane, which happens from time to time, Jax is a fantastic pick to take. You'll beat him up. You win at all times of the game. The only thing you have to note is when you're trying to CS and he got his Q up, try and sidestep before you last hit it so he misses his Q, and then you can trade with him and beat him up. Next up we have Diana. A little bit similar to Yasuo. You want to kind of move around and try and avoid her ability. The ability always moves in the same pattern, so it's very easy to figure out where you have to move to avoid it. And then just try and move to one of the 2 sides that you have an option of and avoid her abilities. Now against the Diana you'll outscale her. You beat her in lane if you play better than her. And overall, you just destroy Diana when you're playing Jax if you play well. Next up, we have Irelia. So Irelia is a tricky matchup against Jax. And when I say tricky, I don't mean hard. That's 2 completely different things. It's actually quite an easy matchup, but you have to play it right. After you get Tiamat and she gets Tiamat, the number 1 way to fight her is always shove your wave in and then leave the lane and roam or do something else. You don't want to fight her, then she have a wave. Because the problem is, if you slow push, the minions get low on health, she can Q jump them, get her 5 stacks, and then she can start beating you. But if you fight her without 5 stacks, you'll always beat her up. You should be stronger than Irelia in teamfights. You should be stronger than Irelia in split push later on. And also, if you sidestep her E stun, then you'll destroy her every single fight and she can't do anything, especially 1v1. Next up we have Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser is an interesting matchup because you destroy him pre-6. So from level 2 to 5, you have to try and do a lot of damage to him and destroy him. After 6, he can start killing you, and then you have to wait till you outscale him. The way you want to go about this is try and get early ganks before level 6. See if you can snowball the match, but if you can't snowball, you can keep killing him over and over and over. However, if you don't master snowball, start playing safe after 6, and then just keep farming until you have 2 or 3 items, and then you're going to be able to start beating him up again. Last but not least in this guide, we're going to have Camille. This is a really funny matchup. In the early laning phase, what you want to do against Camille is just walk up to her, W, trade for her passive. Whenever her passive is down, you're going to destroy her. However, if you're going to fight her without the passive being down, it's important you jump onto her and E instantly, so she can't get her passive up by hitting you. You want to keep the wave in the middle if you can at all times, because that way she can't instantly jump to walls and fuck you. Also, when she's jumping to a wall, if you stun at the right timing, you can cancel her jump and all in her and kill her, and she's free killed every single time that happens almost. Now, another thing to note is after 6, you want to keep your stun off for as long as possible to avoid her damage, because she's going to try and cancel out your stun anyways by ultimating at the time she expects you to stun. And the last thing I want to say about this matchup is, you want to build Tiamat into Shen, because that way you start beating her up in the way you're trading, and you're going to be much stronger than her. So always go that item pattern. And that's all for this guide. If you liked it, leave a comment and tell us what you want to see next. Peace, boys.